At 3:41 a.m. on September 7th, 2025, a sealed cargo train departs Vladivostok, carrying equipment that Moscow has kept hidden from Western satellites for 6 weeks. 42 flatbed rail cars, loaded with Chinese-manufactured PLZ-05 self-propelled howitzers, each wrapped in thermal reflective tarps designed to defeat infrared detection. Total shipment value, $190 million. Destination, the Belgorod staging area, 200 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Estimated arrival time, 72 hours. What Russian logistics officers don't know is that Ukrainian intelligence has been tracking this shipment since it left the manufacturing facility in Baotu. Every rail junction, every refueling stop, every security checkpoint. Ukraine isn't planning to intercept the train. They're planning to let it arrive, let Russia unload every piece of equipment, and then erase the entire delivery before a single howitzer fires a shot. The operation will require precision timing, complete operational security, and the willingness to watch $200 million in enemy equipment roll past Ukrainian positions without reacting. Can patience become the deadliest weapon on the battlefield? 3:41 a.m. The Trans-Siberian Railway, Eastern Russia. The cargo train designated Transport 7902 pulls away from Vladivostok's military terminal under complete communications blackout. No radio transmissions, no cellular signals from escort personnel. Even the locomotive's GPS transponder has been disabled. Russian operational security protocols treat this shipment as if it's carrying nuclear materials. In the lead security car, Major Viktor Petrov reviews his orders for the 19th time. His responsibility: ensure zero information leakage about the cargo's contents or destination. Petrov commands 23 Spetsnaz soldiers equipped with counter-surveillance equipment, anti-drone rifles, and authorization to shoot anyone attempting unauthorized photography of the train. The cargo itself represents 6 months of diplomatic negotiations between Moscow and Beijing. 42 PLZ-05 self-propelled howitzers, upgraded variants with extended barrel life, and improved fire control systems. Each system can fire 15 rounds per minute, with accuracy sufficient to hit targets at 28 kilometers. Combined firepower, enough to saturate Ukrainian defensive positions across a 12-kilometer front. Russian doctrine calls for overwhelming artillery superiority. These howitzers will replace losses suffered during Ukraine's summer counter-battery campaigns. Once deployed to Belgorod, they'll provide the fire support needed for Russia's planned October offensive aimed at capturing Kharkiv. But 6,000 kilometers away, in a basement operations center in Dnipro, Ukrainian military intelligence has already mapped every meter of this train's route. 3:57 a.m. Ukrainian Intelligence Directorate, Dnipro. Lieutenant Colonel Oksana Kovalenko sits before a wall of monitors displaying satellite imagery, intercepted communications, and real-time railway tracking data. Her team has been following Transport 7902 since August 23rd, when Chinese customs records were leaked by a source inside the Baotu manufacturing complex. The intelligence windfall provided complete specifications: 42 howitzers, estimated combat value of $190 million, intended deployment timeline, and most critically, the exact route through Russian territory. For 18 days, Ukrainian intelligence watched and did nothing. No strikes, no sabotage attempts, no leaked information to Western media, complete operational silence. Kovalenko's orders came directly from the Defense Ministry. Let the shipment reach its destination. Allow Russia to invest time, resources, and strategic planning around equipment they believe is secure. Then, eliminate everything in a single coordinated strike before the systems become operational. The strategy requires extraordinary patience. Every day the train travels deeper into Russia, Ukrainian commanders must resist the temptation to interdict. Military theorists call this strategic restraint, the willingness to accept short-term risk for decisive long-term advantage. Kovalenko's team has spent 3 weeks preparing the operational environment. Deep reconnaissance teams inserted into Belgorod Oblast, satellite targeting coordinates verified and re-verified, strike packages assembled, ammunition stockpiled, escape routes planned for every forward element. Now, as Transport 7902 crosses into central Russia, the final pieces move into position. September 9th, 11:23 p.m., Belgorod staging area, Russia. The cargo train arrives at its destination 47 minutes behind schedule. Major Petrov's security team conducts a final perimeter sweep before authorizing unloading operations. Thermal scanners detect no anomalous heat signatures. Counter-drone systems report clear airspace. Electronic warfare units confirm no unusual radio traffic. The staging area sits 8 kilometers inside Russian territory, protected by layered air defenses, including 2 Pantsir S-1 systems and a battalion of infantry with portable anti-aircraft missiles. Russian planners consider the location invulnerable to Ukrainian strikes. It's too far from the front lines for conventional artillery, too well defended for drone attacks, too deep inside Russia for special operations raids. Ukrainian intelligence has been counting on that assumption. At 11:41 p.m., unloading begins. Specialized cranes lift each howitzer from its rail car and position it in designated assembly areas. Russian crews remove thermal tarps, conduct mechanical inspections, and prepare ammunition loads. The process will take approximately 6 hours to complete. 214 kilometers away, Ukrainian forward observers watch through long-range optics as the first howitzer touches ground. They transmit a single encrypted burst, package delivered. In Dnipro, Kovalenko receives the confirmation. She checks her chronometer. The strike window opens in 4 hours and 17 minutes, timed to coincide with a gap in Russian satellite coverage and the rotation of air defense crews. Everything depends on maintaining absolute surprise until that moment. September 10th, 3:58 a.m. Ukrainian forward position, 12 kilometers from Belgorod. Captain Denis Marchenko lies motionless in a camouflaged observation post dug into a hillside overlooking the staging area. For 6 days, his reconnaissance team has occupied this position, surviving on cold rations and documenting every aspect of Russian defensive preparations. Through his thermal optics, Marchenko watches Russian crews finishing their work. 42 howitzers now sit in neat rows, each one fueled, armed, and ready for combat deployment. Support vehicles cluster nearby. Ammunition trucks, fuel tankers, command posts, maintenance units. The entire logistical package needed to sustain heavy artillery operations. Marchenko keys his radio with a single click. The signal propagates through a relay network to fire control positions 70 kilometers behind Ukrainian lines. The response comes 90 seconds later. 3 clicks. Authorization confirmed. At 4:02 a.m., Marchenko's team arms 4 TB-2 Dechnu Bayraktar drones that have been concealed in a nearby tree line. Each drone carries 4 MAM-L precision munitions, small enough to evade most air defense radars, but accurate enough to hit targets within 2 meters of aim point. The drones lift off silently, climbing to operational altitude, while Russian air defense systems remain focused on higher altitude threats. Ukrainian electronic warfare units begin transmitting carefully calibrated jamming signals, designed to create momentary gaps in Russian radar coverage without triggering alarm responses. 4:13 a.m. The strike. The first indication something is wrong comes from a Russian radar operator who notices brief interference on his screen. Before he can report it, 16 MAM-L munitions arrive simultaneously across the staging area. The targeting priorities were calculated weeks ago. Primary targets, ammunition trucks. Secondary targets, fuel tankers. Tertiary targets, the howitzers themselves. The ammunition trucks explode in cascading detonations that send shockwaves across the staging area. Each truck carries 200 155mm artillery rounds. When the munitions cook off, they generate fragmentation patterns that shred everything within 80 meters. 3 fuel tankers ignite next. They're burning diesel, creating a smoke column visible from 30 kilometers away. The flames spread to nearby vehicles, igniting hydraulic lines and electrical systems. Russian air defense crews scrambled to respond, but the TB-2 drones are already aggressing at low altitude, using terrain masking to evade counterfire. 1 drone is hit by small arms fire and crashes. The other 3 escape into Ukrainian-controlled territory. The damage assessment takes hours to complete. When dawn breaks over Belgorod, the full extent becomes clear. 38 of 42 howitzers are destroyed or damaged beyond field repair. The 4 surviving systems are missing critical components, damaged by fragmentation. Every ammunition truck is destroyed. 6 fuel tankers are burning wrecks. The command post is rubble. Russian losses: $172 million in equipment, plus 53 personnel killed and 89 wounded. Ukrainian expenditure: 4 TB-2 drones worth $12 million total, 16 mml munitions worth $600,000, plus operational costs for reconnaissance and electronic warfare support. Cost ratio. For every dollar Ukraine spent, Russia lost $9.47 in equipment alone, but the strategic impact exceeds the financial calculation. Russia's planned October offensive now lacks the artillery support needed for success. The 6 months of diplomatic effort to secure Chinese equipment has produced nothing, and most critically, Ukrainian intelligence has demonstrated the ability to track, monitor, and destroy Russian logistics deep inside Russian territory. September 10th, 2:14 p.m., Moscow, Ministry of Defense. Emergency briefings convene throughout the afternoon. Senior officers demand explanations. How did Ukraine know about the shipment? How did they penetrate air defenses? How did they achieve such precise targeting? The answers terrify Russian planners. Ukrainian intelligence networks have penetrated logistics chains from manufacturing facilities in China to deployment areas in Russia. Every security measure failed. Every assumption about invulnerable rear areas proved false. The broader implications reshape Russian operational planning. If logistics convoys can be tracked and destroyed anywhere in Western Russia, how does Moscow sustain military operations? How much additional security infrastructure must be deployed to protect supply lines? How many combat units must be diverted to guard railways, staging areas, and distribution centers? The answers require resources Russia cannot spare. Air defense systems needed at the front must now protect rear areas. Infantry battalions needed for offensive operations must guard logistics hubs. Electronic warfare units needed for tactical missions must secure communications networks. Ukraine has forced Russia into an impossible resource allocation dilemma. Every asset committed to logistics security is an asset unavailable for combat operations. September 12th, 9:37 a.m. Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Kyiv. President Zelensky's cabinet receives the after-action report. The operation exceeded expectations. 0 Ukrainian casualties. Minimal. Ammunition expenditure. Maximum strategic impact. But Kovalenko's team is already tracking the next logistics movement. 3 trains departed Uralvagon tank factory, carrying freshly manufactured armored vehicles. Expected arrival at front-line positions. 14 days. The pattern repeats. Track, monitor, wait for concentration, strike with precision. This is modern warfare's new calculus. The side with superior intelligence and the patience to exploit it defeats the side with superior numbers. The military that can see everything and strike anywhere defeats the military that must defend everything. Russia's logistical infrastructure, built for conventional warfare against NATO tank armies, is systematically being dismantled by an enemy that refuses to fight the expected way. By late September, Russian military bloggers openly discuss the logistics crisis: ammunition shortages, fuel distribution failures, equipment arriving damaged or incomplete. The Belgorod strike is referenced as proof that Ukraine can reach anywhere at any time. The psychological impact proves as valuable as the physical destruction. Russian logistics officers now assume every shipment is being tracked, every staging area is vulnerable, every concentration becomes a target. Paranoia becomes operational paralysis. October 3rd, Ukrainian Intelligence Directorate. Kovalenko reviews satellite imagery showing Russian logistics convoys dispersing into smaller units, taking longer routes, avoiding concentration areas. The adaptation increases Russian logistics costs by 43%. While reducing delivery efficiency by 31%. Mission accomplished. Ukraine hasn't just destroyed one shipment, they've fundamentally altered how Russia moves equipment to the front lines. Every additional day equipment spends in transit is a day it's not shooting at Ukrainian positions. Every resource diverted to security is a resource unavailable for combat. The Belgorod operation cost Ukraine $18.6 million and required 6 weeks of preparation. The return on investment, $172 million in destroyed equipment, permanent disruption of Russian logistics networks, and strategic initiative that continues compounding. This is how smaller militaries defeat larger ones in the 21st century, not through matching firepower, but through superior intelligence, strategic patience, and the willingness to let the enemy believe they're safe until the moment they're not. Russia brought $190 million in artillery to the battlefield. Ukraine waited until it was all in one place, then erased it before breakfast. The lesson is clear. In modern warfare, the most dangerous weapon isn't the one you can see coming, it's the trap you walked into 6 weeks ago, waiting for exactly the right moment to close.